What's up, guys? Dan here. We're a little bit late on this live stream, but wanted to go ahead and do it. So yeah, we're going to be going over how to wholetail a wholesale deal, and yeah, that's what we're going to be going over in this live stream. I don't know if anyone's going to be attending. Started a little bit later than I planned. Won't normally happen, but got caught up in a call. So we're still going to provide the information later, and if people want to show up or watch later, that's the value will be there. So. Um, so first off, I wanted to go through, what is a wholesale deal, what is a wholesale deal, and how do you do these things. So first off, what it is. So wholesale is basically where you're, getting a contract on a property and then you're assigning it to somebody. You're assigning your interest in the contract to somebody else before it closes. So you really don't have any money into the deal except perhaps earnest deposit, which the end buyer essentially buys you out of. So you close essentially with no money out of your pocket, and you get a commission for an assignment fee for finding a buyer. Um, that is it's a very straightforward transaction most of the time. Now, where a wholesale is different, it's a step further than a wholesale, and the reason for that is because the goal is to put the property on market. So generally speaking, um, you know, putting a property on market is where you're going to find the highest purchase price and best terms. And the reason for that is because it's simply better marketed. All the realtors see the listings on the market. They're all working with buyers, and tends to be that the buyers on market are sometimes less sophisticated, or can do things cheaper, or they think they can do things cheaper. You have other people like owner occupants and stuff like that that are willing to buy a fixer upper and live in it. So the profit motive is not there as much. And so generally, you can find people that will pay more on market. Now that's changing a little bit as there's things like investor lift out there and stuff like that, where it's essentially the on market for off market properties. But even so, retail buyers will typically spend more than investors because there's not as much profit motive. And a lot of people like do-it-yourselfers and stuff like that, they don't typically factor in their time cost into the equation, and so they think that they're saving money, which they are. But it's just not the same calculation that somebody like myself would do when looking at a rehab deal, where I want to make a 30% net margin after all of my costs, right? Somebody may be willing to take a 15 or 10, or they might not even know, right? So this is a great way to get a much higher price for your wholesale deal. Now, what goes into that is you have to buy the property, and you have to take ownership, and then you have to sell it. So it's typically a longer transaction because um, and sometimes you can even do a very, very light rehab, like a lot of wholesale or a lot of hotels. People will buy the property and then like clean it out. They'll just literally trash the place out, make sure that it's cleaned up to where people can walk it, because sometimes houses are like in really bad shape, and like typically, the reason a lot of people go and sell their stuff off market through a wholesaler is because they need to close very fast, and the property is typically in so bad a shape, or there's an accessibility issue to where end buyers can't even get into the property, right? So this is why this is the stuff that hurts valuations. Like, so we have a property right now that we just closed on a few days ago, and the gentleman that owned this property was in a tight spot, right? He calls us like last week, or the week before last week. We closed on it on Thursday last week, and he's like, "Hey guys, I've got this house. I'm in the middle of this rehab. I need to sell it very quickly, and I need money today, right?" Like when he's calling us, which is so. Um, so what he had it on market listed for $65,000, right? This is a house, needs work, and we go back and forth with them a little bit, and we agree to pay $26,000 for the house, plus closing costs. And then we agree to give him a $1,500 earnest deposit that day in cash, right? Which is something that you should not do generally, is release earnest money to sellers quickly, okay, or before you close, because especially outside of escrow, because they can run off with it, right? So if, like, for whatever reason you don't close, if somebody needs earnest money that day, they're probably in a tight situation financially as it is, and so um, the odds of you getting that money back is very, very low. So what it is so that's what we went ahead and did. So we took the risk. We figured that we called the agent involved, and they had offers on this, or they didn't have any offers, but they had some people interested even at the full 65,000. Maybe 50,000, right? So we figure, hey, we buy this place, we can probably make 20,000 without profit, without really doing anything. Okay, just because, see, this is the thing that some people don't understand, is that time is a massive factor in valuations. Because, like, if you need money now, like, I'm not going to pay, this, it's 50,000 or so. Like, it might still be it's a good deal to an investor, but even, hard money most of the time can't get somebody money in a week, right? It's very rare that you can do that. Like, generally, it takes at least 2 weeks to even get a hard money loan on a property. But the deal was, you couldn't get access to the house because there's somebody living there at the time, and so people couldn't even get in there to look at it, right? So we take all these things into account. For one reason or another, the property isn't selling. And one thing with this, guys, is like, this gentleman came to us and asked us for help, and he we shot him an offer of like $20,000, right? And he's like, well, that's way too low, yada yada yada. I need like $50,000 to sell this. And we're like, well, why haven't you sold it for 50,000? Like, do you have any other offers? Why haven't you sold it as it is? And, yada, 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 this and that. You got to ask questions like, why are you coming to me? How fast do you need the money? Why haven't you gone with better options? And we told him, like, hey, we're not going to be your best offer, right? Your highest price. But what we can do is we can get you cash today and cash in a week. All right. And we did, and I was fully confident that we could close on the property and would. And typically with a week, it's really going to be uh, very difficult to assign a contract in that time. So the only option is to go ahead and take ownership of the property. Um, and we had the ammunition in terms of the cash to go ahead and do that. And even if you were to do that, I mean, it'd be very tough. So the only option was to go ahead and take ownership and then proceed to wholetail, which is what the next step, which is, so you buy it at a discount, just like at the price that you would have, bought it then wholesale. But you're taking ownership, you're taking title, you're doing everything. You've got to do a title search, you've got to come up with the money to close, to pay the closing costs, et cetera, et cetera. And then once you take ownership, now you have to list it, right? So with that, you need somebody in your business that is, or you need to find a realtor that can list the property, um, because that, again, like, if I ever buy a property, like, I'm only probably going to sell my properties on the MLS, right? Like, even if I don't really mind paying commissions, because generally you're going to make more money selling on the MLS, to make up more than the commissions, right? Um so that's why you always want to do, I mean, like, as an investor, I typically avoid the MLS for looking for deals most of the time, because the deals aren't as good, right? But people will buy those deals because uh because they're just, either they're not as, they don't have the leads, or X, Y, and Z reason. For whatever reason, people are buying investment properties on the MLS all the time. Okay. And but generally they're just not getting as good a discounts as you would, say, if you bought it off market. So that's what we're doing. So we go ahead and buy it. We the value we brought was, we were able to give him money almost immediately, right? And we close in a week. And so now what we've done is we go over there. He's going to clean out some stuff from the property. and we've listed it on the market for 62,000. Okay, so he had it for 65, couldn't get any traction because he couldn't get access and he needed the money quickly. So he didn't really get any offers, and so we just put it up there basically the same price. And our goal would be to go find some, because we have time on our side, right? Like we can wait, a month for somebody to, or a few weeks for somebody to, get a financed offer together, pay the price that we want, and we can afford to pay, an agent, or even we could even assign it. We're still shopping it out to our uh, the wholesalers we work with. We'll pay a $5,000 assignment fee on the deal because there's still a lot of meat on the bone. Like, um, and we know we can get a good price. There is, we're going to make money on this deal. Whether it's $10,000 or 20,000 or 30,000, we'll make some money on this deal. And it only has to be tied up for, you know, probably 30 to 45 days. So, we can wait that long to make that, ten to $30,000 profit. Um, but that's what we have on our site. We have a little bit more time, a little bit more resource. A lot of it boils down to just reaching more people. So, like, we'll call the local title companies to find buyers. We'll call, the other agents in town to find buyers. We'll call other wholesalers that we know, other flippers. They all have buyers and they all buy things. And so we're going to just do more marketing than the guy that owned it, and we'll find somebody to pay the price that we want. Um, and so that's the difference, guys. The difference is that there's a little bit more time involved. You're going to have some capital involved. You may have to have some boots on the ground. I would probably recommend that, just because you want to be doing inspections. You want to, when you take ownership, like for example, we go over there, we change the locks, we tighten the windows up, things like that, to make sure that there's nobody breaking in. And you're going to have to put a key in the lockbox, things like that, because you're going to have to do showings. The easiest way is to partner with a local agent and just have them set that up. That's what they do anyway, right? Because you'll give them, 3% or a flat commission because the price is so low, to do those services. And that's what you want to do. So the difference is there between a wholesale and a wholetail is that you'll probably make more money for the transaction, right? Like most wholesalers right now are making, $5,000 to $10,000 assignments. I would care to gamble, maybe more if you get a really good deal, but that's probably a good range. On this one, we will probably make it 10,000 at the very minimum, right? We're probably gonna make a minimum 20,000 profit on this deal. Um, and that's because we got such a good deal, but because we're putting it back on the market, and there's already buyers interested at 50,000, right? It makes, I mean, I would buy it at 50,000. We would turn it. The only thing with this one is that, like, uh, it's just too far away, right? It's like a 50 minutes away from where we live, and so it's just too far for our crews. Or we would just go ahead and flip it. And so if it works for me, I know it's going to work for somebody else, because we are very stringent on what we are looking for in terms of, I mean, we're pretty sticking very close to that 70% ARV mark, or there's something else really good going on, like, seller finance or something like that. So, I would probably buy it for 50,000 if it was the same deal in my town. It would be a great deal, right? It's just too far away. So that's why we're going to go ahead and sell it to another local investor in that area, that knows that market better, that has crews there, and that they can, benefit from the spread that they're going to get. So, um, so yeah, that's what's going on there. So that's the difference, guys. You're going to need a little bit. You're going to make more money, but you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. You're going to have that cash to close, or you'll have to line up your own financing to close. Um, which sometimes is possible, sometimes it's not. But with that, you can make a lot more money on the deal. So a lot of times, people will, like, the cool thing is it's like halfway between a wholesale and a flip, where you're taking ownership, but in this case, we're doing literally nothing in terms of renovation, and we're just putting it back on the market. And the only work we're going to have to do is just, basically entertain offers. It's on a lockbox. You don't have to go show it. And so, we just got to find a buyer, right? So then we sell it to the next guy, and he buys it and he works on it. And then we're out of the deal, right? We've made our money, make our spread, on to the next thing. Very simple, very straightforward. Sometimes I've heard of people, they have to go, clean the property out. Sometimes it's very simple. They'll do like a very light renovation, maybe put a few $1,000s into it, nothing it crazy, but like they might be something where they're just tearing something out or repainting something or like super light and they're putting it back up on the market. Like I know a guy like Ryan Pineda, his first deal was like he bought a house on market. He went in there and did like $1,500 worth of work and then put it up on the market 2 days later and sold it for $20,000 more than he bought it for, right? So there's all sorts of little opportunities here if you can just you know, either get somebody money quickly or do some tiny things like access and stuff like that to get the property sold. But there's a ton of things to do. So that's kind of what a wholesale is versus a wholesale. If at all possible, I would rather wholesale because it's just simply a cleaner transaction. You're not having to have money out of your pocket, except maybe like a few $1,000s, and you're getting paid, generally within 30 days or less. And so, you can go on to the next deal. That's a better deal. But in this case, it's still a great opportunity. We'll still probably make $20,000 plus. And so, in that about 30 days, maybe 45 days. And so for us, that's a good deal for us. We're willing to tie up the capital for basically doubling our money. And so we decided to go ahead and pull the trigger, right? But so keep an eye out for these opportunities, guys. There's all sorts of ways to skin the cat in real estate. And if you guys have any questions, go ahead and hit the comments down below. Hit the like button and the subscribe on this video, guys. If you want to have more awesome content, if you want to work with us, or if you have deals, please send them our way. We're willing to work with people on deals, give them comps and things like that. Any way we can help. Just want to provide value. We know it'll all come back. So, guys, with that, Dan Cohan, I hope you enjoyed this live stream, and we'll see you guys in the next chapter.